got everything ready. So just
you want the microphone clip on already?
Let's
already
set the microphone and then
Okay,
we
now
can
give
put
it.
it.
I already
Yeah.
identified the snow doll, so confirm that.
It just swings on. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. How are you? Good? Twilight, delight. We have to wait till twilight. Namaste to everyone. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Laura? Laura is...
She was in the recording studio. I thought she was going to be done, but
Okay.
maybe not.
Okay. Last time we saw, 1 month ago, that this Brahma Jignasa, which was the section we studied about, just 4 or 5 verses, and the last verse said that the sadhanas for this, the sadhanas means the practices that form the backdrop of this Brahma Jignasa. What is Brahma Jignasa? Desire to know about myself, about Brahman, which is nothing but myself. So the sadhanas, the practices which will help me to be in a frame of mind to have this desire and to have not just the desire. Here Jignasa means the pursuit, the committed pursuit are going to be talked about, and those sadhanas are twofold in number, 2 kinds of practices. One practice is called antaranga, internal practice, meaning that which happens within oneself, one kind of preparation or practice, and the other one, sadhana, is bahiranga. Bahiranga means that which entails interaction with others, and in the process of that one prepares oneself for this knowledge, like even karma yoga. Karma yoga, you can't sit at home and say, I am a karma yogi, but I am not doing anything. Karma yoga is converting all your doings into yoga, into a prayerful attitude, and done from a place of, prayerful attitude, dedicating everything to Ishvara and getting what comes, receiving what comes with equanimity. This is what it is. And if you just sit at home and go into the forest and not interact with anybody, that is not bahiranga sadhana. That is more of a antaranga sadhana. Antaranga sadhana means sitting, meditating and preparing in those kinds of ways. So he says, I will discuss both of them first. Both of them I will discuss next. And then what is the first one? First one he is going to discuss is the sadhana called bahiranga sadhana. What is bahiranga sadhana? The sadhana, the practices that lead one to the study or the pursuit of the knowledge of Brahman, and those practices which are, which have something to do with the outside world, that is going to be discussed first. And the author, who is the author? Narasimha Bharati, correct? No. Who is the author? Narahari. Yeah, Narahari. No hurry, you can slowly keep thinking because it's a big text, so you'll have plenty of chances to remember the name. It's easier to pronounce than Narasimha Bharati. If you could learn that, this is nothing. What did Narasimha Bharati write? Ayyo. I remember the author's name, but I forgot what he wrote. What did he write? Vedanta Dindima. Correct. Narasimha Bharati, Shankaracharya, one of the earlier Shankaracharyas of Sringeri Pitha, wrote Vedanta Dindima. Why are we talking of Vedanta Dindima? Because that's the text we were studying before this. Now we are studying this text, which has, which has the name of the author, which has the author's name called Narahari. Yeah. Who is Nara and who is Hari? Narahari means who is a human being, who is an incarnation of Bhagavan. Narahari. Very nice. So, Narahari, is a no-nonsense teacher of Vedanta, and it is very clear that if he had missed his calling as a Vedanta teacher, he would have been a surgeon, because the precision, the clarity and the ability to hone in on the problem straight away without any kind of frills and going around the bush and going around the barn, all that is not there. He straight away goes to the problem and addresses the problem, And so, without much ado, he says, what? You have to say adieu if you are interested in if you are interested in Vedanta. The first practice or the first value that has to be cultivated, he is prioritizing as Vairagya. But why not Viveka? Because usually what is there? Viveka, Vairagya, and then Mumukshutvam, sadhana, the six-pack, sadhana chatushtaya, correct? Yeah. And then what? Mumukshutvam. This is how the order is, correct? So what should come first? Viveka should come first. Viveka means, nitya vastu viveka. What is that? How to distinguish between what is permanent and what is impermanent, and how to desire the permanent, how to cultivate a desire for the permanent. All these things constitute the discernment. And what is the discernment? That whatever I am doing is not serving me. That is the discernment. I keep doing things. I keep hoping that through all these doings I will gain something. I do gain something, but it is gained in time. It is lost in time. What I seem to be wanting is something so permanent that I am not able to get, satisfaction from whatever I have gained so far. And so perhaps it's not a matter of doing. Perhaps it's understanding myself. That is the Viveka. Here, V for Vairagya, no V for Viveka. What happened to the Viveka? This is a very interesting way in which certain authors, discuss the Vedanta Shastra. If you go to Viveka Chudamani, all this will be, or even something traditional like Tattva Bodha. That is why those texts are taught at first, because it goes according to a krama. Krama means methodically, according to the order given in the Shastras. So, you have to learn how things are. Before you can play with words, for example, if you want to be a poet, you can't suddenly write poetry, correct? You can't suddenly just because there is a rhyme, just because you found out something, Honda rhymes with Bonda, you cannot make poetry. I was sitting in a Honda eating some Bonda. You cannot do like that. That is not called poetry. Yeah, that is called doggerel. Doggerel means bad poetry, a dogged poetry. Yeah, that is not poetry, that is a doggerel. Doggerel means poetry not worth studying. Cliched words and everything. In order to write poetry, you have to master the language so much, then you can put the words this side, that side, and you can have puns and you can have fun and you can do all that. You have to have the mastery of the language, correct? And so similarly, he is such a poet that he has the mastery not only of the language, he is both a Vedantin and a poet. Very few are like that actually. Another one is, this one, Lakshmidhar Kavi, who wrote, what is that? Makaranda, Advaita Makaranda. So, generally speaking, they are either Vedantins or poets. Or primarily Vedantin, secondarily poet. Primarily poet, secondarily Vedantin. In Narahari, we see both deploying at the same time. And that's why he has both the poetic license to go against the established order, correct? And he also has the artistic ability to be able to justify why he is doing it, and he knows Vedanta Shastra in and out, that he can afford to, he's writing on a very high level, and he can afford to quote unquote violate the normative ways of writing and look and highlight certain values like Vairagya. And why is he talking about Vairagya? Because really speaking, Vairagya is everything. If we were to highlight two things, one from the six-pack and one from this other four, we would say Vairagya from the list of four, and from the six-pack, Shraddha. These two are enough. These are the two legs of Vedanta Shastra assimilating. Really, those are the two things that are enough, So should I drop Sanskrit? No. And, So these are the two things, that are there. They are the keystones of this, and the reason being that Viveka comes easily, correct? Everybody knows I don't want this, what I am pursuing. But how to not do that, how to get past that, is Vairagya. So in fact, Viveka and Vairagya have a interdependent relationship here, Anyonya Ashraya, because there is a relationship of mutual interdependence. Because unless, there is Vairagya, the Viveka is of no use. Viveka just becomes a kind of an aphorism, a little sutra I carry in the back of my head. Yes, I don't want this, but I can't stop behaving like this. So the Viveka is the cognitive aspect here. And then when Viveka and Vairagya are twins, they go together because the cognitive aspect of which constitutes this understanding that something is wrong with what I'm doing. This is not the way to go about, what I really want. What I really want seems to be in dissonance with the methods that I am using to gain this. So there is a sadhana, sadhya, asambandha. Correct? So this is what Viveka gives. So it's not on the level of practice, so to speak. It's a cognitive shift drawn from the wisdom of my own day-to-day experiences of relentlessly pursuing the finite instead of being the seeker of the infinite. This is a cognitive shift, but the cognitive shift, unless and until it is final, cannot lead me to the study of Brahman. Why? Because something else has to come here. Because the cognitive shift is a necessary condition, but the sufficient condition is the resolve and the ability and the actual practice of dropping the things that no longer serve, dropping those wrong means which no longer serve me. It's not enough to say the means and ends are in disharmony. I want the permanent, but I'm still after temporary things. Okay, right, let's go see a movie. This is not going to serve me. Because there is a dissonance at the level of what I know and how I am behaving. So therefore, he goes into Vairagya because he has already promised I'm going to talk about the practices. I'm going to talk about how to get this Brahma Jignasa, or what is this Brahma Jignasa at the level of practice. And the practice here is not simply a cognitive shift, even though that's necessary for this, pursuit. At the level of the cognitive shift, half the job is over. But what about the other half? Still there, correct? Half the job is true, it is over. But if my lifestyle does not change as a result, I keep having the understanding what I'm doing is wrong. What I'm doing is wrong for me. What I'm doing is not serving me, but I'm unable to drop the doing. This is what here, that's why he's highlighting Vairagya over Viveka, because he can. He's a consummate poet and a expert in Vedanta Shastra, and he can highlight this over the other one because he's not we have already seen, we have read enough of the text to know that he's not the kind of person who goes in order. He jumps around partly because he understands, coming late into the Vedanta Shastra. Late means he's writing in the 18th century. And so he has definitely studied Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha, this, that, all the Bodhas, And so while writing Bodhasara, he wants to present it in a way that the already jaded jiva, does not just, Viveka, I know, skip, okay, Vairagya, okay, skip, read further, Mumukshutvam, skip, so that one does not take the section for granted. One approaches the section and everything that is written therein with a fresh mind. Because, how come Vairagya is coming? I better sit up and listen. Why? So it is not just his artistry, but it's a deliberate pedagogical tool to keep the jiva from this roga. What is roga? Disease. From the roga of routinization. This is what it is. And what is routinization? This is a term that was used by the sociologist Max Weber, a German sociologist, who said that after the industrial revolution, all the jivas are becoming jaded, meaning they get up, they go to work, they come back. There is a kind of the collective experience of leading a meaningless life. Of course, he didn't have Vedanta, but at least he could find out the human problem, that there is a kind of a collective experience of reproducing constantly a meaningless life, so that one undergoes what is called a process of routinization. Nothing excites one, everything, dull, dead and bored, one leads one's life, So he came up with that expression. And so, Narahari, living through the time of the Industrial Revolution and all these changes, he is very aware of this problem of taking things for granted. Not being available to even listen to what there is to say. Because unless one is able to listen, how can one be transformed? So therefore, his efforts are to reverse the order a little bit, change it enough so that one is constantly in the process of being able to assimilate what is being taught. So therefore, this section is called Vairagya Pithika Bandha. Pithika means foundation. Feminine word again. Pitha Pitha means a little platform. Pithika, a small platform, a foundation, like a diving board, a stepping stone. So this bandha means the ascertaining, strengthening the foundation that is Vairagya. What is Vairagya here? Gaining objectivity. Vairagya is best defined as objectivity. Also, another definition is dispassion. Dispassion doesn't mean anything to the one who is in passion. So, unless one has grown into a place of compassion, dispassion doesn't mean anything. So, therefore, objectivity is a better translation. What is this objectivity? Seeing things as they are. That's what it is. Oh, that's Vairagya? Yes. Oh, but that's so simple. Exactly. That's Pujya Swamiji, easy to understand. So at this level, objectivity is Vairagya, best translated as objectivity, because our vision, what is represented by eyesight, the vision is vitiated by subjective impressions, subjective understanding. And it's colored by the understanding which, the coloration comes from my own trials, my own fears, my own subjectivity, my own unconscious. So everybody sees the Jagat. How they want it to be, or how they are afraid it is. So pravritti, nivritti. This is how I want it to be. And when you want something badly, then you see it everywhere. Like the lovelorn young fellow is seeing the face of his beloved everywhere. This often happens because that beloved is never away from the mind. And so he meets somebody and sees them from the back buying some vegetables, and he thinks it is the beloved. goes and embraces and gets a slap, because everywhere he only sees the face of the beloved. Why? Because that's the raga, the predominant raga. That's why it's called falling. Yeah, falling in love. Falling is highlighted. So you see, yeah, you fall from objectivity. That's what the whole thing is. Yeah. And this, fall from objectivity into a subjective world of how you think it is. And similarly for the lovelorn fellow, and this is very common in India, the thing is, in India, the girl children are raised, myself included, we were raised to never make eye contact with men at any time, no one. You cannot look at them in the eye because they'll get the wrong impression. Because the subjectivity is so much there, they'll immediately think, that this person, this girl is totally in love with me. If you just accidentally happen to look at them. Yeah. This is what they think. Subjectivity. Subjectivity coming from a heightened sense of self. And this is what the whole kind of a thing is. So everybody, there is a certain cultural level subjectivities like the one I talked about. There is, individual subjectivity, and sometimes the subjectivity reaches a level of derangement. One hears voices when they aren't. That's the time to go see the doctor. And, one hears voices, one sees things. So there are, visual and auditory, very painful, auditory hallucinations and all these things. So that's the time to seek help. Because this is not garden variety subjectivity. Garden variety subjectivity everybody has. This one loves me, and then next minute loves me not. Yeah, poor flower is sacrificed in the process. It is one game, yeah. And so this is the subjectivity, and the subjectivity comes, the basis for this subjectivity arises from this feeling, the common feeling of not being wanted. So therefore I try to look at some signs in the universe where I am actually wanted. Or if the feeling of unwantedness is too much, I look for confirmation from the universe that I am indeed not wanted. Sometimes I do both at the same time because I am a complex human being. Who is a complex human being? A human being with lot of complexes. That's a complex human being. So this is what is subjectivity, looking for testimony from the Jagat for feeling special, or looking for proof from the Jagat of feeling completely abandoned, neglected and unwanted. This is how one goes about one's life. What a sad, miserable life. Think about it. You can't even have a conversation, before thinking, do they like me? Do they not like me? I don't care if they don't like me. I can do who wants them to like. I don't care. Don't care means I really care, but I'm afraid to admit it. This is what it is. And similarly, so this kind of a subjectivity affects one's relationships with things sentient and insentient, with people, with circumstances, and makes for a very truncated life where one's creativity is overshadowed by this subjectivity, where one is not able to contribute properly and lead a fulfilled life because one is always looking for confirmation for being loved. Yeah. That's why we really highly recommend marriage, because this is one place where at least some security one can feel, that okay, one is loved. But there also the jiva makes marriage into a very, entertaining institution. Do you love me? Of course, the other person has to say yes. That's why they were married to them to begin with. And then the next question becomes very uncomfortable. How much? How much means what? How much are you going to eat? I can tell. I'll have one chapati. Enough. Or today I'm hungry, I'll have two. But how much? This is not something that can be quantified. But then the significant other is like the cat on the tin roof on a summer's day. You have to dance. And you have to find out ways of quantifying the unquantifiable. How much means what? From this building to that building. From this side of the road to that. Oh, that's not enough. From this tree to that tree. That's just only a few feet. That's all. And it's never enough. Same thing, the person goes away for 1 or 2 days. One, significant other is remaining behind. The other one, your partner has gone for 1 or 2 days. Did you miss me? Of course, the cell phones are constantly being texted and talked. The person really speaking, the one who is left behind, doesn't have time to even miss. Yeah. He's just there. And, breathing a few breaths of fresh air. Oh, I also exist as a human being. I'm not just reproducing a partnership constantly. No sooner than the person has finished thinking this, the other person is back with a bang. Did you miss me? What should be the answer? If you want the marriage to continue, what should be the answer? Yeah, yes. And then what is the next question? How much? Show me that you missed me. Then you have to make up some stories. I stopped eating, I stopped drinking, but all the food that was left in the fridge is gone. How can you say you stopped eating, drinking? Then you have to make up another story. This is what is called subjectivity. The intimate expression of subjectivity in the institution called partnership, marriage, etc. This is what happens. Because one is so much in a state of want that one is not able to appreciate the person for who they are. And often the expressions of love have to somehow take the form of obedience, quote unquote. Obedience is only for Catholic nuns, and priests. They take the vow of obedience. Even sannyasis, we don't say obedience at all. There is no such vow of obedience. And so the fact that I want somebody to listen to me is not that person's problem. It's my own problem. The fact that I am riled up because somebody is not listening to me is not that person's problem. It's my own problem. This desire to make people listen to me, it's a roga called samsara. That's what it is. So therefore, when the desire to make people listen to me is really the desire to be loved, and I have made a mistaken superimposition here that if somebody listens to me, that means they love me. Ayyo. That's not correct. And in fact, it's a setup. It's a setup for disaster, really speaking. Because in the process of having just this one marker, a subjective marker of what I think of as love, I'm missing all the wonders that this person is bringing into my life. Because I have already shunned them without even seeing their validity. Because I'm unable to appreciate this person. Be they a partner, be they a friend, a sibling, a parent, a child, whoever they are. Whoever is intimately connected to me. My frustration with that person has to do with my own issues of not feeling validated, loved, etc. It has nothing to do with them. So I'm not able to appreciate who they are because I'm constantly obsessed. Why are they not clean? Why are they not tidying their room? Why are they not listening to me? Why are they not doing what I say? Why do they have all these habits? And they know I don't like this, still they are doing this. They are doing this because they are helpless. And this is how they are right now. And so therefore this subjectivity is, as you can see, is a huge block not only to the day-to-day enactment of the relationships and my relationship to Jagat, my relationship to myself, my relationship to Bhagavan, to Ishvara, it's a big deterrent to the study of Vedanta, because that subjectivity is carried in the head, and it's the head that studies Vedanta, and so that subjectivity is transferred to the Shastra, transferred to the teaching situation, transferred to the teacher as well. I stop coming to classes. Why? Because I feel. In fact, I don't feel. I'm convinced. What are you convinced about? Teacher doesn't like me. How come you can be so sure that the teacher doesn't like you? Because the teacher is not looking at me. Where are you sitting? Behind a basketball player. So teacher to look at you has to play dodgeball all the time, because you happen to be sitting in the back of the classroom behind a basketball player. These are all true stories, yeah. And then you feel that the teacher is not fond of you. This has to do with what? My own, if I feel that way, it has to do with my own sense of abandonment. It has nothing to do with the poor teacher, The occupational hazards of being the Vedanta teacher is this, yeah. And we see Pujya Swamiji happily swallowing everyone's transference without being affected, and happily swallowing everyone's, projection without internalizing it. Sometimes if the people are ready, he gently deflects it back to them, and if they are not, he just keeps quiet. It's just wonderful. So therefore, the Viveka is important. It's as important as Vairagya. But if the Vairagya is not there, as we will see in the first verse itself, it's like having a rimless wheel. Car wheel without a tires. Very tiring to even think of it. Forget tires. Without even the rim. So you have the spokes, but no rim. Ayyo. How will the gadi go? How will the jivas travel on the road of the pursuit of knowledge, proceed without a wheel, without a rimless wheel? Because what makes a wheel is the rim, not the spokes. Not the spokes. The spokes are all, connecting the hub. Yes, the hub is actually connecting the axle, but then the hub needs to connect to the rim via the spokes for there to be the forward movement. So imagine a car without rims, It is bekar, that's all. Bekar means useless. So it's not a car at all. You can't and imagine even anything. Bullock cart, chariot, you have the spokes. How will it move forward? It will not move forward. Imagine even a bicycle. You have all these interconnected spokes, but nothing to, round it all off together, nothing to connect it. And so the various spokes here become the smaller, what Narahari might consider, may stand for, the smaller sadhanas. Like, what is that? The Shama, Dama, etc. is there. Titiksha, Mumukshutvam and the other one. What is that? Samadhanam. All these Uparati, all of them are there. They are the various spokes. But they are not framed. If they are unframed by Vairagya, you can just put them on a frame and hang them. I have Shama certified. That's it. It's of no use. So Vairagya rounds off the cultivation of objectivity, which is incumbent not upon the teacher but upon myself alone, rounds off and embellishes all the other attitudes and values that are highlighted in the Shastra, in the scriptures, and makes me worthy of pursuing the knowledge. Because the knowledge is 100% objective, you are the whole. And if I feel full of holes, I'm not going to be able to greet this knowledge with any degree of acceptance. I'm not even able to dilly-dally with the knowledge even as a possibility. Plus there are various projections on the Shastra, on the teacher, on other classmates, etc. And so therefore, this shedding of the subjectivity becomes of prime importance. And it is likened by Narahari in the opening verse to the rim of the wheel that connects all the spokes together. The rim has two functions. It connects the spokes together, it gives a form and frames all the spokes. And what is the other function? It takes the vehicle, that is this body-mind-sense complex, forward on the road. What is the road? We have to all extrapolate, because this is a poet. This is poetry. The road is one of dharma, the first purushartha. And what is the destination? Where is this chariot headed? Chariot, BMW, whatever your vehicle of conveyance is. Where is this body headed? Huh? Moksha is the destination. And so the wheels have to be, well oiled. And the wheels have to be in proper condition. And so all the shama, dama and the small practices, meditation, tapas, etc., they are the various spokes. And vairagya is that which binds them all together, gives them a frame, frames all the other values, highlights the values by framing them firmly and completely. And then what? Takes the gadi forward on the road of dharma. Because if the spokes don't have a rim, then either the cart is stationary, or even if you just make it go, push it, pull it, it lands in a ditch. It gets derailed from dharma without objectivity, vairagya. So the advan means road. The road is that of dharma. The passenger is the buddhi. The Ratha Swami sitting, the one who is the owner of this car. And then the road is that of the first Purushartha that has to be cultivated, because I have to follow the road of dharma. And the method of following dharma is through vairagya. Without vairagya, I cannot follow dharma. Why? Because the ragadveshas come in the way. I do what I should not do. I do what I want to do, but I do what I like to do. But those are things that should not be done. Correct? And so, when the only way to follow dharma, which is one of the first prerequisites for Vedanta Shastra, for qualifying for Vedanta Shastra, the first Purushartha, the first thing to be pursued by everybody is to adhere to dharma. And in the process, when I make dharma primary, when I make dharma the means to attain this goal, secondary means to attain this goal, to prepare myself for moksha, the destination, then the ragadveshas go away. How do they go away? Because there is a big gap between what I want to do and what needs to be done, what I have to do. And the gap is bridged because of dharma. Because I have to prioritize what needs to be done. Based on my own roles, swadharma, what I need to be doing, what is my role to be doing here, and then based on the time and place of how these roles have to be performed, vishesha dharma, and finally, the final rubric in which the swadharma and the vishesha dharma express themselves is called samanya dharma. And what is samanya dharma? Ahimsa. That's what it is. Ahimsa paramo dharma. Non-injury is the basis of all the other dharmas. That is the primary dharma, to lead a life of not hurting myself and not hurting others in the process. And in order to do that, I need vairagya. Because the ragadveshas, like the horses going in different directions, pull me, at the same time in various directions, in various ways. They just pull me and push me and create in me a constant conflict so that I am not able to go on the road to dharma. But if vairagya is framing all the other values, then it is easier, the ride is easier. Very beautiful, full of wonderful metaphors. And we know he knows the Kathopanishad, we know he knows a lot of, even in the Mundakopanishad, this Ara and Rathanabhi, the example is given. Slightly different example. Hub and the spokes. We are not talking of the rim here. Here he goes a step further. This is also there in Shvetashvatara we have seen. Nemi. Nemi means rim. Ara means spokes. So we will see what he has to say about this in the first verse. So Vairagya Pithika Bandhaha. I already explained that. The foundation of Vairagya. What is dispassion, etc. So let us chant the first one. Vairagya Pithika Bandham.
Vairagya Pithika Bandham.
No coffee break between Vairagya and Pithika. Vairagya Pithika Bandham.
Vairagya Pithika Bandham.
Why is there a gap? Yeah. Vairagya Pithika Bandham.
Vairagya Pithika Bandham.
Prathamam Shrinu Sanmate.
Prathamam Shrinu Sanmate.
Nanemireva yatrasti.
Nanemireva yatrasti.
Sthitishchakrasya kidrishi.
Sthitishchakrasya kidrishi.
Vairagya Pithika Bandham.
Vairagya Pithika Bandham.
Prathamam Shrinu Sanmate.
Prathamam Shrinu Sanmate.
Nanemireva yatrasti.
Nanemireva yatrasti.
Sthitishchakrasya kidrishi.
Sthitishchakrasya kidrishi.
Very good, nice chanting. So, Prathamam Shrinu He Sanmate. The student here, whoever the student is, not named, and the student, he did have one student called Divakara, because there is a commentary on this by Divakara. So, this Divakara may be being addressed, or some other student is addressed. We don't know, but we do know that the Vedanta Shastra unfolds with the student-teacher method, the dialogue between the teacher and the student called Samvada. So that is what is highlighted here. So the student is not named, but the student is named by the teacher, is given an epithet, Sanmatihi, Satmatihi. Satmatihi, Yasya Saha. So the one who has a mati, a buddhi, that is only devoted to the Sat. What is Sat? Sat is that existence, the truth of everything, the adhisthana of everything. So Sanmati, like Hari, Hare, vocative. O Sanmate, O you good intentioned one, O you one of right decision. Meaning what? You already have Viveka. See, this is very beautiful, so subtle. I just love this. So this section is intended, very softly. The author is telling us, is intended for people who are blessed with Sanmati. Sanmati means that whose buddhi has already gone through a cogitation, a kind of a, internal spin cycle of knowing what one wants. And they are ready to drop what is not wanted. It is for such people here. So, He Sanmati, He Sanmate, O you with good, O you good intentioned one, O you bright one, because you have made this correct decision. O the one with Viveka. And so, He Sanmate, and here is an injunction, So, O you discerning one, Sanmati. So, what about that discerning one? What should I do? Shrinu Prathamam. Right at the beginning, right at the outset. Please listen. Meaning what? Here the Shravanam has already come in. Vedanta is not something to be read, it is something to be listened to. He Sanmate, listen. Listen right at the beginning. I'm going to tell you something of very importance. And the Prathamam has a pun here because it is the first verse. So listen to this beginning and listen also to that which you should have right at the outset. Outset of what? Approaching Vedanta. Very beautiful section. The whole section is wonderful like this. And then he gives a wonderful illustration. Na nemihi eva yatra asti yatra na astihi nemihi eva. If you want to make it prosaic. Yatra nemihi eva nasti chakrasya sthitihi kidrishi. It's a rhetorical question. Very interesting question, very nice question. So, in a place where there exists no rim, in a wheel, I mean, you can't call it a wheel. So, because the rim is what makes the wheel. So, in a place, yatra, that's why he says yatra. In the place where exists no rim, you can only imagine the dasha, the state, sthiti, the state of what is called wheel. So can you call, this is a Zen kovan, can you call a rimless thing a wheel? Can you call it a wheel? Yeah, you can't. Because the definition of wheel is really based on that rim. Correct? This is really called reinventing the wheel. By Narahari. Very nice. So, he is talking about the wheel because see, everything is important. The hub is important. You cannot say, you cannot have a wheel without a hub. You cannot have a wheel without the spokes. But then in logic, in not logic as everyday logic, but in the body of knowledge called logic, we talk about necessary and sufficient conditions. A necessary condition is that without which something cannot exist. A sufficient condition is that without which something cannot function at all. So here the wheel is called wheel because it is round, and that roundness comes from the shape of the rim that connects the spokes to the hub. So the rim is the spokesperson for the for the whole ensemble called the wheel. Yeah. And so the question, I mean, it's really, the translation is beautiful, but still without the knowledge of Sanskrit, you cannot appreciate how he is asking this. In a place where the rim does not exist at all, how can you call it a wheel? Or in a place where the rim doesn't exist, you can only imagine the state of the wheel. Please imagine a rimless wheel. How to imagine? It's like saying, please imagine, a bunny, what is the other name for it? Rabbit. Rabbit with horns. Shashashringa. It is non-existent, correct? Vandhya putra. What is Vandhya putra? Don't think of surrogacy, but those are all modern, whatever ways. But a person who is not able to bear a child, what will her adult son look like? This is non-existent, And in the Taittiriya Upanishad we saw that Mriga Trishna Snataha. So this person is coming out. Nice, this brahmachari is coming out nicely bathed. Bathed in what? In the mirage desert waters. Okay? Very clean. Bathed in the mirage waters, this brahmachari has come out. Khe pushpashekharaha means adorned by a celestial flower which has fallen out of the sky. Non-existent flower, non-existent water. Alright, so two non-existences. Do not make an existence. It's not double negative. So non-existent, adorned by a non-existent flower, bathed and having had the ablutions and sanctified by non-existent water, yati goes, who is walking? Vandhya putraha, a non-existent person. a person who was birthed by the person who could never become a mother. Here he goes in all his glory, bathed in the non-existent mirage water and adorned by the non-existent celestial flower. Correct? So too, without the rim, this is a non-existent wheel. And another pun here, very interesting. The Vairagya is called Pithika Bandham, is the foundation. The Vairagya is the foundation of what? It is the foundation of this understanding Sat. So really speaking, when Vairagya is non-existent, I can't see Sat, which is the basis of all existence. So the relative existence of this Vairagya in my buddhi and the cultivation of this practice is incumbent upon understanding the truth of my own existence. So when the rim of the wheel is non-existent, then I am in the danger of self-denial, denying my own existence as Brahman. Asanneva sabhavati asad brahmeti veda chet. Again Taittiriya Upanishad. Asat eva sabhavati. That person becomes non-existent. Who? Asad brahma iti ched veda. The one who erroneously comes to the understanding that there is no such thing called Bhagavan, there is no such thing called Brahman. You happen to be that Bhagavan, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Habba. Answer came quickly, very happy. Yeah, you are that Brahman, yes or no? Yes. And so if I deny Brahman, what am I denying? My own self. And similarly, if I am not cultivating Vairagya, I will join the ranks of the majority who are practicing this rank form of self-denial. Existence of Vairagya, in other words, is equal to my recognition of the existence of Sat Chit Ananda as myself. No Vairagya, no Satchidananda. No Vairagya, no wholeness, no Jnanam of wholeness. So this Vairagya, that's why what a lovely first mantra. Very beautiful. Nemihi eva yatra asti. It's very beautiful. Look at may I just focus a little more on the construction. I know everybody here is not studying Sanskrit, but I just want you to appreciate the beauty of this. He could have, he's a wonderful poet. He could have put the nasti at the end. Instead of asti, he could have put nasti. But he's talking of sat here. So he's saying asti, but without nemi, na nemihi. So the focus is on nemi. Yatra, in that place. What? In that Brahmani, Satchidanande Brahmani, in that Satchidananda Brahman, which is oneself, where the tools of knowing are not there in the form of this Vairagya, Sthitihi Chakrasya, and so the preparatory steps in terms of going forward on the road to Dharma, etc. Kidrishi. Kidrishi means of what kind it may be. You please imagine yourself. He leaves it to our imagination. Yeah. You please imagine. So this asti which is I, which is Brahman, and which is the whole Shastra is all about this Sanmati, which is my own buddhi, owning up myself as Brahman. Correct? This asti becomes nasti when there is no nemi, when there is no what? Vairagya. That's why he uses asti. It's a nod to Brahman as, astitva. Asti is there, then that is Brahman. Correct? Asti is actually asi. Tattvam asi. Because Sanmate is there. Very beautiful. So that asi, it's not tattvam bhavishyasi, you will not become that. Tattvam asit, asihi, no. You were that, no. You are that. Correct? Right now, right here. So that isness which you seek to understand as I, that isness is dealt a great, big, huge blow. When is it dealt a great, big, huge blow? When, there is no way of proceeding on this quest to understand through Shravanam. You see, he's bringing in all the ingredients. He's bringing in the goal, which is to understand this Asti, to convert this Asti into Asmi. That is the road. Asti, which is what? Third person, is. Now it is what? Aham Brahma Asmi. It has to be internalized. It has to be understood. It has to be assimilated. So how is the distance to be from Asti to Asmi to be bridged? By the wheel called Vairagya. And without Vairagya, there is no way to go from Asti to Asmi. And the wheel, that which gives the form to the wheel, is actually the rim, the tire, that round thing which frames the spokes. So similarly, this, angular personality with all these things coming out, needs to be smoothed over by Vairagya, so that I can just roll over towards moksha, which is really a gain of that which is already gained. This is all just poetic. The destination is poetic, the wayfarer is poetic, the means are poetic. It's all just fantastic. Awesome. Really awesome. So the conversion of Asti into Asmi happens when? When does it happen? It happens when the right, the right sadhanas are there. Correct? I have to have the right means. And if the distance between Asti and Asmi is just ignorance, then Vairagya becomes the method to bridge that ignorance. Because otherwise, Shrinu, please listen, doesn't happen without Vairagya. The listening cannot happen without Vairagya. The destination is not gained by Vairagya. Even Viveka is gained along with Vairagya. That's why Sanmatihi. And a very beautiful, question is asked. Kidrishi sthiti chakrasya. What is the condition of the wheel when there is no rim at all? Can it even be called a wheel? Wonderful. So we'll take a short break, 15 minutes or so, 10-15 minutes. So to just assimilate the wonders of this, fantastic opening verse. And then it gets better and it proceeds very beautifully, and we'll come back and see it in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Yeah, afterwards I'll take questions also.
Nora says that she's sorry she's not here, Swamiji.
I'm sorry she's not here too.
The smoke is bad in the press bar and it's affecting her body.
Okay.
And Chris says, Namaste.
Namaste, Chris.